Let's go, let's go, let's go. We are back with another live. I am your host, Dave, 10-year intellectual property attorney, dealing with everything from patents, trademarks, copyrights, as well as trade secrets. We got a good show lined up for you guys today. I'm excited to be back, man. Last week was Memorial Day, so I was out visiting Mom Duke, getting some good food, so I did not go live then. That was actually my first time missing in like 3 or 4 weeks, as I have been on a good spree. And I was actually in Colorado earlier today, looking at the Rocky Mountains, having a good time out there. But I said I can't go 2 weeks without talking to you guys. I'm excited for this live. We have a lot to get off into. Seems like Boy Scouts is suing one of their fellow volunteers. Hey, JLO, Jennifer Lopez, Jenny from the Block is what they call her. She was sued for copyright infringement for posting a picture of her. So we'll get off all into that. Then we have a credit card scam where this is actually sent to me on Instagram. So we'll kind of pull it up, where somebody was kind of talking about trademarks and trade names. They're just saying a whole lot of wild stuff in terms of how you can get unlimited funding as well as a perfect credit score. I'll give you guys my thoughts as an IP attorney because it has something to do with IP. So we'll break that down. And Timbaland, the producer Timbaland, he's kind of giving some advice on intellectual property entrepreneurship, how to be a successful entrepreneur. So I thought he had some good words that's worth sharing with you guys today. But we're going to start with, and I didn't do this last week. So last week was the last Shark Tank episode of season 16. For those of you who don't know, it was Mark Cuban's last episode. I think he did like 13, 14 seasons on Shark Tank. And it was his last episode. And he's essentially retiring from the show, going on to greener pastures. And like I said, since last week was Memorial Day, I was out. I did not do my favorite pitch of that week. So I'm gonna do it now, and it's Stringies. So Stringies, and actually Mark as well as Barber, they did a deal with the two owners of Stringies. As you can see them, I think they're both models. One is from like Sweden. And I can tell you what, man, beauty has its perks. I think they valued the company at $6 million after only having done what? I think 180K in 11 months. Now they are making money, and they do have a patent on the actuals, like a kind of see-through underwear, where I don't know. Clearly, I'm not buying the product, but it's for women. They have a strap that goes around your waist that's clear, and then you have like the opaque portion that kind of covers up your private area. And they actually have a patent pending for this. It's a method patent, which I thought was cool. And this video was doing numbers, so you definitely want to go check it out. It's doing numbers on the full breakdown. I think it's up to like 34,000 views. So that one is doing numbers. Go check out that. Like I said, Mark as well as Barber, they both did a deal with the two owners that you have seen here. And I think part of the deal was a royalty. And I thought this was interesting. I did want to break it down a little bit more. When you are doing a royalty, the thing that makes royalties work, and this is why Mr. Wonderful likes the royalties so much, is because if you have a lot of margin and kind of what you're selling the price compared to what it's landing for, then you can potentially do a royalty. Now, obviously, business owners hate royalties, and that's for good matter. But if you're an investor and they're selling product, you know you can get your money back through a royalty, then it's a lot more attractive to an investor. So I think in this case, they're selling these for, I think what, maybe $14, and it's only costing them like $2 to make. So just think about that. They're selling something for $14, is only costing $2. So that $12, what is that? 10% is $20, so it's not 100%. But I mean, again, it's a pretty nice kind of margin there, and this makes a royalty offer attractive. I think Mr. Wonderful initially brought it up. They declined that, but they initially got a deal with not only one shark but two sharks with Barber as well as Mark Cuban. $300,000. I think it was like 5 or 10%, but I think they got that royalty in place, which made it attractive. I think $1 for each unit sold goes back to the Mark and Barber. So shouts out to the owners for getting a deal. Shouts out to Mark for doing a deal on his last final episode. It got touchy at the end. Your boy almost shed some tears. Like I said, go check that out on the channel, Everything Intellectual Property. And before we go to this next one, man, just some housekeeping items. Please hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, as well as hit that subscribe button to be a part of the IP community. We just passed 3,000 subscribers last week. I think we're almost at 3,200 now. So things have been pushing. So definitely go check out definitely go check out that reaction video. And again, until next season 17 of Shark Tank, we're going to be on a little bit of a hiatus. I got some cool things planned, so I guess stay tuned for that. We're going to move on to the interview of the week, Air Bubble. Let's kind of play this, then I'll kind of give you guys my thoughts. This was actually an interesting one for a number of reasons. Number one is because your boy, he was a Shark Tank guest as well. So let's tee up the interview and then kind of give you guys my thoughts at the end here. Let's go. Hopefully it's not on 2x. Sometimes I listen to these okay, it's normal speed. Let's go. What would you say up until this point in time maybe was your biggest breakthrough with the business airtulip? And then on the flip side of that, what would you say was your biggest challenge that you had to overcome?
Right. I think the biggest breakthrough was actually pivoting to the headboard and noticing that there's a different market post-COVID. Because initially, the business was always about like, okay, I wanted to help during the COVID era. So it started out that way. And so getting it into a product that would be having a lasting effect was a big thing for me. And I think my biggest challenge is like getting the right people on board and working with the right people. It's really hard. I'm an engineer. I always will be a product guy. I mean, I'm the CEO and I have to do all the different hats, but I have to learn also not only to do the marketing, but also to know who's good at, for example, or, customer service or sales. And that's for me the biggest challenge. And I think I'm still working through that. Like, how do you set up a system where people are happy, things are moving, but it's not fluff. It's like, go, you need to actually make it work. And there's a mission to it. That's my biggest challenge. It's ongoing. It's not a product. It's like the organization of people.
And that's the product. This is the product. And let me know what you guys think in the chat, whether or not you checked out the video. But this is a airtulip. So he has a headboard that, and let me bring it back on myself here really quickly. Arjun, and shout out to Arjun. He's from Jersey, but his manufacturing facility is in Michigan, in Detroit, Michigan, where I'm located. So he came here a couple weeks ago, and I was able to take your boy to dinner. We had like a nice 2 or 3 hour chat. Man, this guy is legit. He used to work at NASA, traveled all over the world, consulting, and now he is the owner of this company, airtulip, which makes this headboard that helps you, creates this air bubble for you to sleep in, making sure you're not breathing in toxins. So, man, again, pretty good interview, pretty dope interview. I think that one is kind of going crazy. A lot of people was watching that one. But this guy, in this clip, what he was talking about was the challenges of business. He's an engineer, so he's dealing with the technical side of things. But as an owner of a business, not only do you have to worry about the technical side of things, you have to worry about marketing and selling a product. And he was saying in that clip of the interview how challenging it is for him to take his mind off of the engineering side, which is what he wants to go to, and dealing with the marketing, dealing with the advertising side, being able to sell the product, and really having to get some help to kind of help that part of the business. And that's one of the things that is underrated. But when you're starting a business, you're either going to be good at one thing. You're not going to be good at everything. You're probably going to be good at the technical side as an engineer. Maybe you're a good salesman. You're going to be good at the sales side and not so good at the engineering side. But you got to make sure you are hiring the right people so that everything is kind of being accounted for, whether it's selling, whether it's manufacturing the products, whether it's designing the products. And that's what Arjun was talking about. Again, man, this guy, he's the real deal. Like I said, he was in Detroit a couple weeks ago. And we got a chance to go out, have some wine, go to an Italian place, and it was a nice meetup. I actually have a picture. I didn't cue it up. But your boy Arjun, he's the real deal. He's Dutch. Go check out that interview, airtulip. And he was on Shark Tank. So he was on Shark Tank. He got a number of offers. I think Mr. Wonderful offered him, but he didn't like the terms of that offer that Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary gave him on Shark Tank. So he declined the offer, and he's doing his thing on his own. So again, another Shark Tank product, and he's killing the game. Let me know in the chat, man. I know, see, we got a couple people here. Let me know, do you guys have some type of air purification system that you guys use in your guys' house or in your bedroom? I know we all trying to live longer, man. And he was talking about during the interview that there's some dirty stuff out there. So being able to, breathe good is a good thing. It's a good thing. Let me kind of tee up this next one as I got a lot of open. Let's see here. Now this next one, man, it's a pretty interesting one. You got to be careful with who you are taking advice from. This is a crazy one, and we're going to go through it. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on it, Let me see which one it is, man. But I would love to hear you guys' did I? Oh, yeah, it's IG one. It's IG. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Now, this is another interesting one. Let me add this to the stage. So this was sent to me, and I love when you guys send me this stuff on IP so that I can react to it, make a video. I did a kind of a 10-minute video. Go check that out. But you had, and again, this guy you see, this has 22,000 likes on IG. You got to be careful who you're taking advice from. Again, this was posted a week ago on this Mr. 3 Hardaway IG page, and it has 22,000 likes. I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on whether or not you should take advice from this guy or not. I want to let you guys know, or let me know in the comments on, do you think some of the stuff that he's saying is sound or not? Let's go. Hold on. Here we go.
Federal registered trademark on my name in all capital letters. And you ask, like, what the fuck's that for? Well, the credit reporting agencies make money by selling credit reports. And that name.
And I'm going to stop this along the way. He is right on that one. So he's talking about the credit repairing agencies, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, making money on selling the reports. Now, I would agree with him on that. But what you guys didn't hear beforehand, he was talking about how he uses his name. He's trademarked his name, which you can trademark your name. It's a little bit more challenging, but it is possible to trademark your name. But he's talking about how he himself filed a trademark application on his name, and he used all capital letters. So he talks about that, and then he kind of goes into the fact that the credit agencies, they're selling your information for money, which so far I'm agreeing with him. But let's see when this thing takes a turn for the worse.
It's basically a trade name. So when you do a federally registered trademark to the USTPO,
look, anytime somebody refers to the United States Patent and Trademark Office or the USPTO, when they refer to that as USTPO, you can probably stop taking advice from them. Again, let me know if you agree with me. But if somebody you're taking advice from on patents or trademarks or anything intellectual property, if they refer to the USPTO as a USTPO, you probably, as a rule of thumb, can probably kind of start tuning them out. That's just me, though. Let me know if you guys agree with me. Let's go.
Then what happens is now they can't put any negative items on your credit. And if they do, it's like $50,000 that you can sue them in a civil court and a federal court every single time they do it. So that's another way you.
That's false. He's talking about, hey, if you trademark your name and the credit card company uses your name on their paperwork, you can sue them and get tens of thousands of dollars. I'm telling you, if you guys try this one, you guys are going to be disappointed. Number one, when you file for a trademark is brand protection. That's the whole part of trademark is. When you think of McDonald's, when you think of Starbucks, when you think of your favorite brands, you're thinking about a trademark. So to the extent that you're not using, or you're using that name, but you're not using it in a trademark sense or a branding sense, then it's not trademark infringement. So in other words, if you're protecting your name via a trademark and somebody's writing your name down on a piece of paper, they're not using your name from a trademark or a branding perspective, and therefore it's not trademark infringement. So this is where the thing starts kind of turning left real quick here. Let's continue to see. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. I see we have a couple of people in here. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Like I said, almost 23,000 people have liked this post that was posted a week ago.
You can get infinite money as you do.
And he's talking about getting infinite money. So when somebody's giving you advice and they're saying, hey, you can get infinite money. I don't know, man. Do people want to be fooled that? I don't get it. I don't get it, man. Let's finish this one up.
A federally registered trademark, sue them. Part of the relief section of the civil lawsuit is going to be like, hey, I have a registered trademark on this name. From now on, if you guys want to put anything on this credit report, you need to call me and get my approval as the trademark holder on.
Now, I will say that that's the whole point of having a trademark. To the extent that you have a trademark and somebody want to use it from a branding standpoint, they do have to get permission. However, as in this case, if somebody's just trying to write your trademark down on a piece of paper for like non-branding purposes, that's not trademark use, and therefore it's not trademark infringement. Now, if they're kind of using it from a branding standpoint, then that's one thing, and they have to get permission. But in this case, Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, just writing your name down on their documents, and to the extent that you do have a trademark on your name, That is not trademark infringement. So please, 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 I'm trying to get y'all the game before y'all be calling a bankruptcy court talking about they got me. This is not going to work. You're not going to get money from these credit bureaus. You're not going to get infinite money, as he talked about, and he's going to continue to talk about loans and stuff like that. It's not going to work the way you think it is. So, hey, you are warned. Let's finish this up.
On this. Otherwise, every single time you do it, I'm getting 50 grand, and you can actually ask the judge for an injunction. You can actually get a permanent injunction from a judge. And then at that point now, you can go out and get all these credit cards, all these loans, never pay them, and they can never report it. So your credit score never goes down. So you just keep getting more and more and more and more credit forever, and no one can stop you.
Look it, man. You guys, I don't like to tell people what to do. That's the part of an attorney's job, to just give you the information and you come to that decision the way you're going to come to it. But if you think you're going to do this, get infinite money, infinite loans, it's not going to affect your credit. You're going to somehow ride off into the sunset. And you just have another thing coming. And to the extent that these 23,000 people who like this, if they try this, then they get everything that comes to them. Everything that comes to them bad, they deserve it. Because if you think you're going to kind of pull this play on the credit bureaus, on the government, and somehow get $1 million worth of loans, and your credit score is going to continue to be 800 and remain perfect, and you're somehow is playing the government or the credit bureaus, I don't know. You guys have to let me know what you think. I thought it was worth sharing. Number one, to tell you what not to do, but number two, to kind of let you guys know that this is not what's the name. And actually, if you even look at we gotta pull this back up. If you look at the comments on it, let's see what the comment is saying. Credit bureaus report based on your legal identity, not trademark property. Your credit file is tied to your social security number and legal identity, not IP rights like trademarks. Okay, that's what's the name. Look it. Can I have more info? I have questions. Miss Ada 25. Are people doing that bad in life? I get it. I may be out of touch with reality. I just came back from Colorado. I was in the mountains at altitude, looking at the scenic views. I wish I had those. What's the name? I'm looking at life-size trolls and things like that. But are people doing that bad in life where they're trying to kind of run this play? Look at what she's saying. Miss Ada 25, 4 days ago. Can I have more info? I have questions. Let's see what Keen Keem Up says. Registering your full name in all capital letters as a federal trademark does not prevent credit card. Somebody has some what's the name from lawfully reporting credit related information about you. Personal and commerce are that's the exact same thing I'm saying. Using something, commerce is saying I'm using it in a brand sense. Personal is saying, hey, we're just kind of using it in a non-branding sense. So it seems like your boy Keem Up, he's talking that good stuff. Look it. What your boy Boy Nation Films Network is saying. Inbox me. Hey, man, to the extent that people are using this play, they deserve everything they get that's coming from them. Let's kind of move on to the next part of the show. Your girl JLO, Jenny from the block. Let me take this down from credit card scam. Please, please, please do not use that scam. It is a scam. And hopefully you guys are not paying for it. If you're paying for it, like I said, you probably deserve what you're getting for it at that point. So I thought this was worth talking about. Jennifer Lopez has been sued for copyright infringement. Now, this is interesting because I guess she was at a Vanity Fair event maybe a couple weeks ago, and a photographer took her photo. You could tell she was in this white dress. Now, she is getting up there in age, but she still looks pretty good. And so she posted that picture on her IG page. And one thing that I have to tell you guys, just because somebody takes a picture of you, the owner of that copyright, you don't own that copyright as the entertainer or the person who got your picture taken. The photographer, the person who took the picture owns that photograph. And to the extent that you want to use it, you have to get permission from them. So JLO, Jenny from the block, she posted it on her Instagram page. And it seems like the photographer, his agency, sent the cease and desist letter. And it seems like if you read the article, they kind of understood that they were probably committing copyright infringement, JLO and her team, because they was in negotiation back and forth saying, okay, we're going to pay you guys for using your photo, but it seems like they never paid the photographer and the agency, and therefore they slapped Jennifer Lopez and her team with the copyright infringement lawsuit. Like I said, I thought this was interesting. Number one is because just because somebody takes a picture of you, you are not the copyright owner. You have to get permission. And a lot of times, the good thing about being the owner of the copyright is a lot of times to get permission, the photographer or the person who owns the copyright wants to get paid. It seems like they wanted to get paid in this case. Jenny from the block, her and her team was initially going to pay these people. They didn't pay them. Then they slapped them with a lawsuit. So I did want to hit on that really quickly because I don't want you to find yourselves in that situation. So shouts out to Jenny, JLO, man. I know she about 50 something, but she still looks pretty good as a 50-year-old. JLO, Jenny from the block. We're going to talk about your boy Timbaland. For those of you who don't know Timbaland, he is a world-renowned producer. I think I came into the scene of knowing Timbaland because he used to, one of my favorite artists, Jay-Z. He did a lot of his stuff. I think the Dirt Off Your Shoulders, he produced that track for Jay-Z. And hey, man, Timbaland is the real deal. Seems like he has some words on being successful in business. I think what it says, producer Timbaland explains how to be a successful artist, producer, and entrepreneur. Let's see what he has to say.
Independent, you can start building your shit, build your platform, build your business as you be an artist. Like, don't wait to always go get a deal, be the deal.
What's that mean?
You are a deal. You just gotta structure it yourself. Oh, I want this. Okay, well, I need to go get this. Go to a bank versus go to a label.
And I do like what he said, and I want to stop it on that one because a lot of people, man, with these record labels, when they give you these deals, quote unquote, they're essentially giving you a loan. But unlike you going to a bank, and let me bring it back on myself because I think this was a really important thing that he talked about. Record labels, a lot of the times when they give you these deals, they give you $400,000. I actually was looking at a story the other day, and I forget who it was, but I guess Def Jam, back when Jay-Z was there, he gave this artist $400,000 and they a $400,000 deal, and they were celebrating, popping champagne. I guess he was actually Jay-Z for a Rock Nation chain, and Jay-Z pulled the guy's dead to the side, like, hey, don't celebrate debt. Celebrate making money. And this is not, again, you're in debt $400,000. And he kind of brought the guy's dead back to reality. Like, hey, man, when you sign these record deals and a record company gives you an advance, you're in debt to that company, $400,000 or whatever that advance is. And to the extent that you kind of make the money and dig yourself out of it, you're not a successful artist at that point. And I think what Timbaland is saying, and we're going to finish it off, I think he's giving you a really good point, because a lot of times to get in debt or get that advance or get signed to a record company, they want to own your masters, which a lot of people 10, 15, 20 years down the line, they start complaining, oh, man, this person owned my masters. And like, man, I'm tired of hearing those stories. But what Timbaland is saying is, hey, as opposed to going to a record company and signing away your masters and going into debt for $400,000, hey, go to a bank, Bank of America, your local bank. The good thing about this intellectual property is it is an asset, much like your house, much like any other asset you have, a car. You can get a loan out of this stuff. You can go to them, hey, I have a copyright, I have a trademark, I have a patent. And a lot of times banks will give you a loan against the intellectual property. Or to the extent that you want to get a business loan as well. But with Timbaland is saying, hey, go get a loan, because the interest rate is going to be a lot better than what a bank is going to give you from a business loan perspective. But then number two, a lot of the times the bank is not going to want to own your IP. They're in a business of loaning money, not trying to own people's intellectual property assets. Now you can put it up as collateral, but much like a record company who wants to own your IP, a bank they don't want to own your IP, but you can leverage your intellectual property and some other assets that you have to actually get a loan from them to be able to kind of make your music, hire people to produce it or beats or whatever the case may be, and sell it, marketing, advertising, and don't have to, number one, pay this huge interest rates, but two, and more importantly, sell your soul, your assets, IP, to the record company. Hopefully you guys understood that. I know we have somebody in the chat, man. Let me know if that makes sense, because I do want to make sure that's clear, because a lot of people, like I said, I'm tired of hearing people sell their soul to the devil and complain about it 20, 30 years later. Let's finish off what Timbaland has to say. Let's go.
You can go get a loan and build your shit out. You are like, oh, I want to try to get a deal. No, nigga, I don't got to try. I am the deal. Like, I am the real deal. People need to see me, and build your system. I just think people just don't want to put in the work.
That's true.
Of building, like, putting the work in and really understand what a direct to consumer really is. And it really is really like building like a tech team behind your shit and owning the IP.
There you go.
Of what you built, whether it's 5,000 people, 6,000 people. 6,000 people can make you $2 million depending on your price point or how you see. What are you offering the fans? You can be as creative as you want to be. You know, I know it's going to take some money, but you can go borrow whatever you make, or you can just get it from the mud and start doing it. Take every little piece, put it back into the product, and then as you want to expand, you know, you can either go a label route, or you can go a bank route, or you can go a hedge fund or an investor. You know what I'm saying? Because you have value. You have a catalog you building up that you can sell. Now you own the masters. I think independent, you can.
Yeah, so that's pretty much kind of as a wrap on what Timbaland was saying. Like I said, I really like what he talked about, particularly as it relates to going to the bank, getting a loan out, and you can leverage your intellectual property, whether it's music, in the case of music, your copyrights, to the extent, man, I interviewed Big B Coffee, the Mike McFall, the co-founder, I should say. He kind of was talking about how he has a separate company, and they're doing like $200 million a year in revenue. So he has a separate company for the company that's selling coffee, but he has a separate company that owns the IP. And the company that sells the coffee pays a royalty of, I think, like 10%. So say in that case of $200 million, they're giving a company that owns the IP $20 million a year. Boom, boom, boom. And what that's doing is it's giving validity, credibility to the valuation of the intellectual property. So now, to the extent that he wants to go get a loan out, the bank is going to say, well, this IP catalog, whether it's trademarks, copyrights, whatever the case may be, has been earning $20 million a year. So whether they give a 1x multiple, 2x multiple, whatever the case may be, he can loan against that IP if he really needs to try to grow and expand, or he don't have to do it. But the good thing is he has options, number one, and he does not have to sign over the rights to his intellectual property to do it. So I do love what he said about going to a bank to get a loan as opposed to trying to sign for a record deal. And then to the extent that you have built up this catalog, now you are in a driver's seat, and the record company or whoever you're doing a deal with had to come to your terms, as opposed to you being taken out to the shed and they bend you over backwards, if you know what I mean, just because you're at their mercy. So shout out to Timbo for that. Let's kind of move on here. What do we have next? I think we have this one. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Now or never. The time is now or never. So it was a CNN article that was sent to me this was like last week or week and a half ago. And the gentleman was talking about small businesses. And this is the greatest time to be a small business owner and essentially build up your company, potentially have an exit for multi-millions of dollars. And really, most millionaires are created through small businesses. This is the whole point of this channel is, hey, I'm trying to get you guys, everything that I'm saying, I'm trying to get you guys to feel more comfortable, number one, with starting a business. That's why I bring on a different interview drops every week with a small business owner who has started a business from scratch. A lot of times these people have no prior business experience. And then number two, to be able to properly protect your intellectual property, whether it's trademarks, copyrights, or patents. This CNN article or this CNN commentary is it's essentially a good reminder of that. So let's see what this gentleman has to say, and then we'll go from there. We're not going to play the whole thing. We're going to play maybe a couple minutes and then go to the main course here for the day. Let's go.
At present, the median net worth for somebody in their 20s, it's under $8,000. But too often the perception of where and how to make the most money is media and personality influenced. In television, film, and music, we glamorize Wall Street and Silicon Valley, not middle America. But business ownership in any town USA is increasingly the foundation for our very highest wage earners. As Juliet Chung of the Wall Street Journal recently reported, behind a paycheck, the largest source of income for the 1% highest earners in the U.S. isn't being a partner at an investment bank or launching a 1 in a million tech startup. It's owning a medium-sized regional business. Many of them are distinctly boring and extremely lucrative, like auto dealerships, beverage distributors, grocery stores, dental practices, and law firms. That analysis was based on the work of Owen Zadar, a Princeton University economist, and Eric Zwick, an economist at the University of Chicago. Dr. Zadar will join me in just a moment. The two are soon to publish a book on this very subject. They studied anonymized tax data from 2000 to 2022. Their focus, S corporations and partnerships. Typical of those were medium-sized businesses with annual sales of 20 million and 100 employees. Their findings built off a previous academic paper for which they were co-authors called Capitalists in the 21st Century. From that analysis, quote, our findings draw attention to a class of entrepreneurs hidden from public view, who prevail among top earners and whose human capital income is key for understanding top income.
So what he's saying so far and breaking this down, he's saying, look, you're glamorizing and idolizing the entertainers, the athletes. And a lot of times what they say, most athletes go broke 4 or 5 years after they're done playing sports. We all know the entertainers, they're over leveraged and they're just trying to show that they have it. And these people that is your next door neighbor, driving regular cars, small businesses, they're really making a real money and have the real capital funding. That's essentially what he's saying.
The takeaway from both the prior and more recent analysis is that if we examine everyone in the United States and then focus on the top 10% of earners, for most, their main source of income is wages. But for the very top, those at the 0.1% level, it flips. And most of them are getting more of their income through profits from their businesses. Those businesses are typically not in finance, but rather they actively produce goods or services across diverse industries. Professors Zadar and Zwick, they gained access to data about who owns private jets and super yachts. And what do they find among the latter? Man. Sure enough, dozens of auto dealers who live in random towns across America. This Wall Street Journal article also had examples of entrepreneurs who defy stereotypes and show that you can make money at anything in America as long as you do it right. There's Derek Olson, his Minnesota-based business, National Flooring Equipment. They make machines that rip up flooring. He makes millions due to the need for carpet removal at elementary schools in particular. They've got a lot of carpet and the kids make a lot of mess.
And again, I want to stop it for a second. You have to really listen to what he's saying, man. Making money, again, for whatever reason, we look at the entertainers and the athletes and the people who are in Hollywood, but making money can be a boring thing. I know they kind of glitz and glamorous with that, even though, like I said, a lot of those people aren't really making money the way you think they are. But the people who are really making money, it can be boring and monotonous, really. This guy is making millions of dollars a year breaking up carpet. Would you break up carpet for $1 million or start a business breaking up carpet for $1 million? Yeah, you're probably not going to be bragging on IG or whatever the case may be of what you're doing from a job perspective. I know everybody want to have that tech company or whatever the case may be, but hey, if I can make a bit or have a business making millions of dollars doing a job such as breaking up carpet at schools, I'll definitely sign up for it. So again, a lot of this stuff is boring and we have to retrain our mind to say, hey, we are going to kind of do these jobs that, number one, are in demand and have some type of market. And it's going to make us money, even though it may not be as glitz and glamorous. We're not going to be able to kind of post it and share about it and kind of brag on ourselves in a way that some of these other tech companies or entertainers can do when you see them on IG and these different social platforms. So let's kind of retrain our mind. Let's see what else this gentleman has to say.
Then there's David McNeil. He dropped out of college and sold cars. On a trip to Scotland, he noticed they had superior car floor mats. So he took out a second mortgage, shipped over a bunch of these mats to sell. In the first year, he made $40,000. 2 years later, he made 10 times that amount. Today, his Illinois-based company, WeatherTech, you've heard of them. They sell hundreds of millions in auto accessories.
Crazy.
The point is, America is still the land of opportunity. In fact, it may be truer today than it was 25 years ago. The data show that business owners were...
So that's pretty much enough for that, man. The whole thing is, it's still a land of opportunity. And I have some cool things coming on. I was interviewing Rent-A-Roo, and I think Lisa, the co-owner of that, she was talking about how it's over 1 million businesses sell on Amazon. And they're saying, hey, the bulk of the businesses that sell on Amazon, I mean, it's 1 million small businesses that sell on Amazon. So the bulk of the businesses overwhelmingly that sell on Amazon are small businesses. They're doing it because they can make money. So I know a lot of people, like I said, they kind of want to do this entertainment and athletes and kind of in that sphere, or they want to be one in a billion, I think he said, tech startup. But hey, these everyday jobs, these everyday businesses are making buku money. So, you guys have to ultimately make a decision of what you want to do. But I definitely wanted to share that with you in case you were I guess, curious. So let's kind of move on here to the last segment of the show. And this is an interesting one, man. I was reading this on a plane ride back this morning. I actually skimmed the lawsuit, but the Boy Scouts of America has sued a fellow volunteer. And this is actually interesting for a number of reasons. And this had me torn of the dichotomy of capitalism and business in America. On one end, and let me kind of break this story down. It seems like Boys of America, they had this volunteer who was a lady who, for a number of years, I think she volunteered for like 20 or around 20 years with Boys of America. And then she ultimately left and not started a competing company, but it seems like she started to try to help out some parents as well as some scouts with who were kind of going through the program just based on her history. And this had me not torn in a way because I think both of them are right, in my opinion. We'll get off into the lawsuit and go through it. But on one end, and I tell you this all the time, if you've been at a job for 10, 20, 30 years, you have some information that you can go along from that job and start your own business. And that's essentially what the lady did. Her name is Alice. Again, we'll pull up the website or the lawsuit as well as the website. But Alice, essentially, she worked 20 plus years with Boy Scouts of America. She understood some gaps in the process, and she kind of broke away at some point and started her own really educational media type company. She's not selling anything per se, but she's making videos. It seems like she's providing some tools to help out parents as well as Boy Scouts reach their goals of Eagle Scouts or whatever the case may be. Now, is that wrong? No. Like I said, I teach you guys all the time. If you've been in a job for 20, 30 years, you have some information and you can leverage that information as well as gaps in the process to start a business. But on the other end of it with Boy Scouts America, it's almost like, man, it's tough because you know that somebody's going to be working with you for a long period of time. I guess at some point they're going to leave. And to the extent that they leave, they have all this information that they have obtained year after year working with the company. Now, as long as they're not kind of doing anything illegal as far as using IP without permission or whatever the case may be, it seems like, in my opinion, they're right. It seems like what Alice did was she got some domain names that were free and available, and that's all good to go. And Boy Scouts of America didn't like that, and that's where everything started to fall apart. So that's where we're going to pick up at. I do want to show her Alice's website, not the website, but her YouTube channel, because she has a YouTube channel. She has a website as well. But again, she has 123 videos. She has over 2,000 subscribers. So Scouting America is her company. Again, Scouting America. Yeah, I'm not sure. Boy Scouts of America, Scouting America, Boy Scouts of America. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess it could be looked at as infringement, but yeah, I'm not one to decide on that. I'll let you guys decide that. But I do want to pull up the website here. I mean, the lawsuit, so we can go through it here really quickly. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. So please let me know what you think about it in the comment sections. So Boy Scouts of America is suing Alice K. Webb for trademark infringement. Let's read the complaint here. Plaintiff, Boy Scouts of America, has operated for over 100 years. That's crazy that they've been around for that long. And owns numerous famous scout and scouting trademarks. And most of Boy Scouts trademarks are incontestable, which means that they've been using them for at least 5 years consistently or continuously. Alice first volunteered with Boy Scouts, but then began using Boy Scout trademarks without authorization on websites, including buying domain names with Boy Scouts marks that falsely associates her sites with the Boy Scouts and their trademarks. Defendant also was attempting to use her ill-gotten domains to oppose the registration of Boy Scout trademark applications to extort a large payment from the Boy Scouts. This is getting good. We're not going to read that part, but let's continue on here. For 100 years, Boy Scouts has operated one of the premier youth organizations in the U.S. I would agree with that. I will say this. Somebody was telling me that, and when you think about it, that's the unfortunate thing about, sometimes the capitalistic society, they kind of dress this thing up, right? Where we know in China, they're doing slave labor. They're manufacturing products. They're doing it. They're having kids manufacture this stuff for extremely low wages. And we say it's bad, but it's like, okay, my iPhone costs $1,000 as opposed to $5,000. So you more so willing to turn a blind eye, even though you don't necessarily look at it that way. However, Boy Scouts of America and Girl Scouts, and somebody put it to me this way a couple weeks ago, and it kind of made sense. They said, man, compared to what they're making from the Girl Scouts selling the cookies and what they're paying the Girl Scouts, it can kind of be looked at similar to the slave wages that these Chinese manufacturers are paying these kids to manufacture a product. We don't think about it that way because we're like, okay, they're doing something noble for the greater good for the organization. However, it seems like they're taking in millions of dollars from these Girl Scouts selling the cookies, and they're giving them a fraction of the cost or the fraction of the money that's being made. So it can be looked at as a form of like kind of slave labor in a sense. We don't like to think about it that way, but it's almost dressed up a little better than just think of a kid in China sweating out for a couple of dollars a day, working 8 to 10 hours. It can be a similar thing. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. But when they said that, I'm like, okay, I can see that. As messed up as it is. So let's get back to it. For 100 years, Boy Scouts has operated one of the premier youth organizations in the U.S. authorized by Congress. I did not know that. With special statutes, has developed substantial goodwill symbolized by the famous and incontestable Scout and Scouting marks, including the family of Scout and Scouting formative marks. So it seems like the federal government is in on it. So unbeknownst to Boy Scouts, Alice, an adult volunteer, member of Boy Scouts organization and a longtime volunteer, registered 3 domain names incorporating the mark Scouting, including scoutingamerica.com, scoutingamerica.org, and scoutingamerica.net, and developed websites on the infringing domain names displaying content solely related to Boy Scouts. Further, her attempt to falsely associate with Boy Scouts, defendant also created a channel on the social media platform YouTube under the handle Scouting America 1910, which again contains content solely related to Boy Scouts. And this is where I kind of, so far, they haven't done anything to me or and again, they're dressing it up in favor of Boy Scouts of America. But up until this point in time, everything seems legal. It's not like they're saying they stole something or they're infringing on something. It was a domain name available. They got that domain name and they're giving you their version of, from being on the inside, Alice is giving you her version of events and how to help you become an Eagle Scout and how to help parents deal with kind of the Boy Scouts of America. And we all do that. That's a whole part of commentating, social media, websites, whatever the case may be. There's nothing in this lawsuit up until this point that's making me believe that Alice, the former volunteer of Boy Scouts, is doing something wrong. Again, some domain names were available. She got the domain names and she's created a website, a YouTube channel to kind of give her perspective on helping Boy Scouts out. She's not trying to, as a matter of fact, look at, I'll even do you one better. Let me know if we got some Eagle Scouts or some former Boy Scouts in the actual chat. But let's look at her website. I mean, her YouTube page. Look at what the YouTube says. This YouTube channel will help parents with Scouts or newbie parents and help guide them through the Scouting BSA process. The ultimate goal for the Scout is to earn the rank of Eagle, but the parents' goal is to help them become good citizens of society. As parents of Scouts, blah, 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 blah. After all this is very do-do-do. Let's look at the end here. Scouting America is reflective of my personal views, thoughts, opinions, and more than 20 years of Scouting experience. This site does not have the endorsement of the Boy Scouts of America, and it is not an official communication channel of the Boy Scouts of America. So she's telling you, hey, this has nothing to do with the Boy Scouts of America. Instead, I'm using my experience of 20 years to kind of help you as a parent navigate the Boy Scouts of America and help you as a kid get the Eagle Scout. Hey, this sounds like she's a consult to me. Like she's essentially providing through her experience consulting for helping parents as well as boys, newbie Boy Scouts navigate that process. That's what it sounds like to me so far. Let's get back to the website. I'm sorry, not the website. Let's get back to the lawsuit here and continue to go through it. Boy Scouts' first awareness of defendant Alice's claim of ownership in Scouting America was when defendant filed an opposition of trademark application filed by Boy Scouts for the mark Scouting America. So it seems like we all know that she bought the domain name Alice did of Scouting America. It seems like Boy Scouts of America ultimately tried to file for a trademark on Scouting America. And I'll be interested in knowing the order of this thing. Did Alice get Scouting of America and then the Boy Scouts tried to file for a trademark application, or did the Boy Scouts of America file for a trademark application on Scouting of America? And then that's when Alice, because she had already owned the domain name, opposed their trademark. That's important. Let's go here. In which defendant claimed, among other baseless claims, that she had priority over the mark based on her ownership and use of the infringing domain name. So again, it seems like Alice was using the name first, and Boy Scouts of America saw that and tried to file for trademark protection on it. Now it's getting a little interesting. Boy Scouts attempted to negotiate a potential settlement with defendant, which revealed defendant's true intentions to extort exorbitant sum from Boy Scouts to retrieve the unauthorized domain names and for the withdrawal of the baseless opposition to Boy Scout trademark applications. In my opinion, that's just business. And this is actually, if you kind of peel back the layers, this kind of lets me know that, let me try to bring it back on myself for a second. This kind of lets me know that Alice was not in the wrong, because I'm not looking to negotiate with you if I hadn't done anything wrong. It seems like she had the domain name first, and Boy Scouts of America wanted that name. So they're saying, Alice, I'm going to pay you some money to get that name. And at this point, it becomes business. So Alice is like, okay, how much is this name worth it to you? Just because I say a price that you don't like, does that mean I'm trying to extort you? No, you can say no, and I can go on with my business and owning the domain name. You can kind of do what you want to do. So it seems like, again, obviously this complaint is going to be written to favor Boy Scouts of America, but I'm just kind of giving you guys the other opposing view in real time. It doesn't seem like Boy Scouts of America, they're trying to play victim in this role, but I think Alice so far, and she hasn't infringed on any trademarks of Boy Scouts of America. She's got a domain name, Scouting of America, and it seems like Boy Scouts tried to file for a trademark application afterwards, and she petitioned to cancel the trademark application because she said, hey, look, I was already using this mark. So you shouldn't be able to trademark this because I'm already using this mark and there's a likelihood of confusion. Now, one thing Alice could have done is, in addition to buying the domain names, Scouts of America, she should have filed for trademark protection first. However, I don't think she's in the wrong for petitioning to cancel the mark. That's kind of what I think so far. Let's kind of get back to it and see what is happening after this. Boy Scouts essentially, based on her, Alice trying to extort Boy Scouts of America, according to BSA, Boy Scouts have been left with no choice but to seek court intervention to stop defendants' false accusations, infringement, and unlawful actions. Boy Scouts, we're not going to, I realized it was started in Texas. Let's see what trademark they have. We're going to skip the jurisdiction and venue. Boy Scouts was formed in 1910. Man, that's crazy. Scouts Honor. On my honor, this is a Scout Honor, man. I was dating this one girl recently, and she always, when she says she's going to do something, she always says Scout's Honor. On my honor, I would do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. That's a Scout oath in the Scout law. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, reverent. Boy Scouts has approximately 500,000 adult volunteers. Man, that's a big organization if they have 500,000 adult volunteers across tens of thousands of units, overseen by more than 230 local councils throughout the U.S. and its territories. Okay, these are the marks. So they have a trademark for scouting, scouting for food, scouting for adventure, Scouting U, My Scouting, Friends of Scouting, Scouting Wire, Boy Scouts of America, Cub Scouts, and then these are some of the logos. Now, I would say Scouts of America is Alice's domain name, which again, she owns. She probably wouldn't have gotten the trademark Scouts of America in light of the Boy Scouts of America. I think it would have been a likelihood of confusion, in my opinion. So I think she wouldn't have ultimately gotten a trademark if she would have tried to file for a trademark application on Scouts of America or Scouting America. But again, that's just my thoughts. Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts of America. So they got a number of different trademarks that they own. It seems like they have Scouting of America that they filed for trademark protection last year in April. That's still pending. I would imagine pending the litigation here. So let's go see what Alice did to deserve this. Defendant's voluntary history with Boy Scouts. Defendant has been a volunteer for an for and an adult registered member of Boy Scouts since 1998. That's crazy. 08, 18, almost 30 years. Over nearly 30 years that the defendant has been a volunteer for Boy Scouts. It's not quite 30 years, but it's close. She has held dozens of volunteer positions and completed over 40 training courses about Boy Scouts, its youth programs, and various certification courses offered by Boy Scouts. Defendant's role as a longtime volunteer and registered member gave her access to and knowledge of Boy Scouts organizations and marks, including its use and ownership of the family of Scout marks. Okay, so it seems like kind of based on her being a volunteer, she had authorization to use the trademarks. Upon information of belief, defendant used her decades of access to Boy Scouts and knowledge about its organization and trademarks to create a false association between herself and Boy Scouts to trade off on the goodwill of its famous marks. I disagree with this. I think it was just her gaining experience and knowledge over doing something for 30 years, and then going off and saying, hey, I want to do something on my own. I have this experience with this big organization, that being Boy Scouts of America. And I'm going to essentially be a consult for parents and boys who are trying to become Eagle Scouts. That's kind of my take on it so far. Let's get to it. Defendant Alice orchestrated this false associating through the use of infringing domain names, including Boy Scouts, famous marks, displaying content solely about Boy Scouts and its organization and members on the web pages associated with the infringing domain names, and launching the infringing YouTube channel. I don't see it that way. Now, I don't think she would have been awarded the Scouting of America mark, and whether or not that's an infringement on a Boy Scouts of America mark, that can be debated. But so far, by her getting a domain name that was available, that's not trademark infringement, or she hasn't done anything wrong. And to the extent that Boy Scouts of America wanted to buy that, and she didn't want to give it to their price, that doesn't mean that she was trying to extort them. Okay, let's go to D here. The defendant's false association, unauthorized use of Boy Scouts trademark, and wrongful registration of the infringing domain names. Upon information of belief, Alice registered the infringing domain names scoutingamerica.com, scoutingamerica.org, and scoutingamerica.net for the purpose of displaying web pages that created a false. We just read the YouTube channel. It pretty much said that she's not associated with Boy Scouts of America. I think she made that clear. Boy Scouts had no knowledge of defendant's registration of the infringing domain names, nor did Boy Scouts give any authorization, permission, or license to use its trademarks in the infringing domain name. Now, I will say this. If Alice did this while she was working at Boy Scouts of America, that's definitely a conflict of interest in my opinion. But if she left Boy Scouts of America as a volunteer and then kind of did all this stuff with her own YouTube channel and stuff like that, I think she's well within her right to do that. Upon information or belief, to the extent there were web pages for any of the infringing domain names, those web pages were limited to content related to Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts, again, yeah. So it seems like this is on her website, Scouting America. Now, I'm not sure if this is the Boy Scout mark. Let's go back up here and see. Yeah, so it seems like they do have a registered trademark on it. And to the extent that she was using this mark, I will say that is trademark infringement. If she was using this on her own personal webpage without permission or authorization, I would say that is trademark infringement. So it seems like, no, Boy Scouts of America is starting to convince me. Upon information of belief, defendant never offered, advertised, or sold any of her own goods or services on any of the web pages displayed on the infringing domains. Upon discovering the infringing domain names, Boy Scouts attempted to negotiate a purchase of the domain names. Defendant refused. Boy Scouts offered to purchase the domain names, which I guess that was in her right. And that doesn't mean that she's extorting them. Now, I would say, based on using that trademark infringement, I think if she would have took this logo down, she would have been good, in my opinion. You can't use somebody else's trademark logo without their permission on your website. Seems like she was doing that, and I would say she's liable for infringement, for trademark infringement from that. Let's see how much we have go. We have been at this thing for almost an hour. So we're going to finish up E, and we're not going to read the count here. Defendant's baseless opposition against Boy Scouts trademark application as a negotiating tactic. Defendant filed a notice of opposition. So Alice filed a notice of opposition with the T-tab earlier this year, opposing registration for Boy Scouts trademark applications for the mark Scouting America under the trademark application. The basis of the defendant's notice of opposition filed in opposition proceeding is an alleged ownership over the mark Scouting America in connection with the name Scouting America. Okay. Alice described her claim goods and services as associated with membership in an organization for youth and educational services, referring to Boy Scouts members and Boy Scouts organization youth and educational services. and her notice of opposition filed in the opposition proceeding, defendants claim to own the infringing domain names, which she does. Upon information of belief, the web pages for each of the infringing domain names have only ever been comprised of information related to the Boy Scouts, Boy Scouts members, and Boy Scouts goods, programs, and services. Alice's ownership and the use of the infringing domain name is intended to and does create a false association between defendants and Boy Scouts. Upon information of belief in March 2025, so a couple months ago, Alice removed the content from the web pages associated with the infringing domain names. Yeah, I would imagine if she took down those trademarks, I think she should be good. Let's see what else they're saying. Alice also alleged in her notice of opposition that her claim of priority is based on her ownership of the infringing YouTube channel under the handle Scout in America, which without permission or authorization uses the Scout marks and other trademarks exclusively by Boy Scouts. So it seems like they're saying, hey, this Scouting America that Alice is using, it infringes our Boy Scouts of, it's a trademark infringement to our Boy Scouts of America. Again, that can be debated, but that's what it seems like Boy Scout is coming. So far in this one, the infringing YouTube channel also utilizes the year 1910 in the handle. Scouting 19, again, you don't have a trademark on 1910. Further, the defendant's false accusation with Boy Scouts, which was founded in 1910 and touted Boy Scouts website and well known by its members. Let's see here. What else they're saying that's important that I want to go over? Defendant's use of infringing marks and infringing logo in connection with the infringing domain names on the websites associated with the infringing domain names, the infringing YouTube channel, and in connection with the defendant's claimed goods and services wouldn't necessarily be associated by consumers. Again, I can see the trademark infringement for the Boy Scouts of America. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. So let me know. Let me know if, number one, are you a Boy Scout? It is some takeaways that I do want to talk about this. Alice, I think that her getting a domain name, again, that was well within her right to do so. And to the extent that she did not want to give that or sell that domain name to Boy Scouts of America, that does not mean that she was somehow extorting them. So I do want to kind of get that straight. But again, Boy Scouts of America, I think, do have a claim of trademark infringement against her. Number one, for the logo that was on her website. Seems like she took the logo down. So it seems like she kind of remedied that. But I think it's debatable on whether or not Scouting of America is a trademark infringement to Boy Scouts of America. Let me know what you guys think in the comments or in the chat on that one. Do you think that Scouting of America that's used by Alice, would you get confused, or is that a likelihood of confusion with the Boy Scouts of America mark? Let me know that in the comments. That's I don't know. I think so. Essentially, let me pull up her website here. Not the website, but the YouTube channel, which has over 2,000 subscribers. Do you think this Scouting of America mark, would you get confused to think that's somehow associated with Boy Scouts of America? I think Boy Scouts of America has a, I think that's up for debate. I can see some saying yes, I can see some saying no. I think that's where this is going to turn. But so yeah, I think this is where this is going to turn. But again, the value in this intellectual property domain names is IP that doesn't get talked about a lot. But the fact that she saw that scoutingamerica.com was available, she purchased those domain names and Boy Scouts of America, and that was well within her right to purchase those domain names. And Boy Scouts of America wanted to buy them from her. She didn't like the price that they was offering, and that's not extortion. That's just business. I don't like the price you're charging. You can't force me to sell something for a price that I don't want to take. I can, in business and contracts, I can decide not to take your offer, and that's not trademark infringement. That in and of itself. Now, whether or not using Scouting America is trademark infringement to Boy Scouts of America, I think that's going to come out to play. If I had to guess, I think all this is going to somehow be settled. And it seems like I would imagine that Alice is going to get some type of money and Boy Scouts of America is going to be happy as well. But I will say this as I close. And please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, as well as hit that subscribe button. Number one, domain names can be a valuable intellectual. I have like 10 domain names that I'm just sitting on. Some of them I'm using, and some of them I do plan on using in the future. But domain names is one of those IP that you can sit on. Probably have to pay $50, $100 a year, but they are assets, valuable assets. I think one time they were telling me with GoDaddy, like, oh, your IP portfolio as far as domain names is like a couple grand at this point. So domain names are valuable. And then number two, to the extent that you get experience being at a company for 10, 20, 30 years, There's nothing wrong with breaking off from that company and going to start a business that's somehow consulting your former company or other competitors. It seems like that's essentially what Alice was doing. She worked at Boy Scouts of America for nearly 30 years. And she decided to the extent that she did go off on her own, it was not clear whether or not she was still doing this while she was employed at Boy Scouts of America. And if she was doing that, then that is definitely a conflict of interest. But to the extent that she broke away from Boy Scouts of America and started her own thing, consulting parents as well as newbie Boy Scouts on how to become an Eagle Scout, again, I advocate for that all the time. Start a business based on your experience at a prior company for a number of years and kind of run it up that way. Protect your IP and run it up that way. Now, whether or not Scout in America is a likelihood of confusion with Boy Scouts of America, I guess that remains to be seen. But I like what Alice is doing, which again brings me back to my original point. The dichotomy of a capitalistic society. And on one end, you have an opportunity to get all this experience and go start your own company. But on the other end, as a business owner, you're essentially paying somebody to one day maybe be a competition to you. So, yeah, I'm not sure, man. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. It looks like we have a comment here. Hello, hope you are having a great day. What's going on, Michael? Super backer. Hey, Michael, were you a Boy Scout? At any point, were you a Boy Scout? Let me know in the chat, Michael. I was never a Boy Scout. I played sports growing up, basketball, football, but I do run into a lot of people who were Boy Scouts. Let me know, Michael, were you a Boy Scout? Or did you become an Eagle Scout? It seems like that's like the holy grail of the Boy Scouts. Were you an Eagle Scout? Let me know that in the comment section, or you can let me know in the chat if you prefer. But it seems like I said, that's the holy grail of this Boy Scout thing, is becoming an Eagle Scout. And it seems like Alice, based on her years of experience, was trying to help people accomplish that goal. Now, whether they agree with or whether she was in competition with Boy Scouts of America, it seems like she may have been a little bit in competition. But again, it's the U.S. is America. That's what we built on, competition. But as long as she was doing it in a way that wasn't infringing IP, I think she was okay at that point. What do you say, new subscriber? I appreciate you subscribing. Thanks for that, Michael. Not a Boy Scout. Okay, so you fall in line with me. I wasn't a Boy Scout either, but I heard a lot about it. Okay, but what else does Michael say? But I did teach a summer camp for 14 years, sailing and archery. See, it seems like you have some potential IP that's associated with your sailing and archery. It seems like that's what you like to do if you did it for anybody that does something for 14 years, I would imagine that they have some type of interest in it. So hopefully you have a business, Michael. You're protecting your intellectual property, whether you came out with a product, whether you're trademarking a name, whether you have copyright. So hopefully you are protecting that intellectual property and you're prospering in business. Again, appreciate again for the subscribing. Definitely would love to have you back on these lives and participating. We talked about a lot today, from JLO being sued for using a picture that was taken of her. We talked also about, as I kind of go through it here, Timbaland talking about the importance of intellectual property and how middle of America is still ripe for prosperity with regard to business for small business owners. So hey, don't kind of look up to these entertainers or athletes or whatever the case may be. Sometimes your $1 million may be with a boring job such as tearing out carpet. So definitely keep that in mind. We talked about, obviously, Scout Honor. Is that the 3? Is that where the 3 comes from, Scout Honor? I can't even do it. I guess that's the Scout Honor. So we talked about that. Talked about Shark Tank and Mark Cuban being doing a deal on this last episode. And then Air Bubble. Go check out that interview I did with Arjun. It was a Shark Tank product. And that just came out this past week. I actually got a chance to have a dinner with Arjun when he was in Michigan a couple weeks ago, visiting his manufacturing facility. So go check out that interview. That was great. Let's see here what he says. I just found your channel. I was watching the Shark Tank. Jaju. Okay, nice episode and noticed you were live. Well, I appreciate you for subscribing, number one. Yeah, those Shark Tank interviews, a lot of people do find me based on those Shark Tank interviews. All those reaction videos, I've actually had a number of interviews where I had the Shark Tank business on, and they tell their journey from kind of from the start all the way up until where they're at today. So definitely, Michael, go check out those interviews. I haven't had Jeju on yet, but I've had a lot of different businesses on who was on Shark Tank. I was actually at the Shark Tank reunion tour back in January. It's one coming up in New York that I may go to, I think in July, so next month. So yeah, definitely go check out those videos. And man, hey, continue to support the channel. I appreciate it. To the extent that you have an IP question, don't hesitate to send me a message through the website, therealdavidspears.com. You can kind of, when I'm live, jump on, ask your IP question live, and I'll do my best to answer it. And hope all is well. So as we close for today, thanks again, Michael, for subscribing. Please hit that like button. To the extent it seems like we had somebody else jump on, please hit that subscribe button. I do have a ebook that I just came out with called Got IP. Definitely go check that out. That's talking about protecting your intellectual property and kind of every step in the process from having an idea all the way up to monetizing it. I'm giving you a lot of stories in there, and those stories are from actual Shark Tank guests that I've interviewed. So it's a pretty cool ebook. Go check that out. Sure thing, Michael. Thumbs up for that. Appreciate the support again. Nice meeting you. Have a great night. You have a great night as well. And I will see you guys next week. Have a good one. Thanks for the support. Bye-bye.